Hello and welcome to Matador News. I'm Robert Zamora.
And I'm Katie Fauskee.
Today, the Justice Department announces a $1 billion settlement with Toyota. Attorney General Eric Holder says he hopes this historic settlement will be a lesson to other auto companies in the future.
As part of the resolution of this case, Toyota will fully admit wrongdoing. It will pay a financial penalty of $1.2 billion. And going forward, the company will submit to rigorous review by an independent monitor that will examine and assess the manner in which Toyota regularly reports safety issues to the public and its regulator.
The fine is 350 times the maximum penalty the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration can place on an automaker. A Toyota spokeswoman says the company has made fundamental changes to become more responsive and customer-focused organization and is committed to continued improvements. The settlement concludes a 4-year-long investigation into the company's safety issues.
The United States has suspended operations of the Syrian embassy in Washington and has told diplomats and staff who are not U.S. citizens or permanent residents to leave the country. The civil war in Syria is entering its 4th year with an estimated 150,000 people killed. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has refused to step down. U.S. Special Diplomat for Syria Daniel Rubenstein says it's unacceptable for officials of the Assad regime to conduct diplomatic operations in the U.S. The United States has also notified the Syrian government that it must close consulates in Michigan and Texas.
Scientists are urging the world leaders to take more action against greenhouse gas emissions. The American Association for the Advancement of Sciences has released an 18-page report about the effects of human-caused climate change. The report points out the abnormal weather changes, the drought, and rising levels of gashouse emissions. CSUN geography professor James Crane says the future generations will get the worst part of the effects.
The problem is even if you stop today, stop polluting the atmosphere at all, it would take hundreds of years for it to recover. So the damage has already been done.
Experts will be meeting in Japan next week to discuss the latest report and possible risks to the world.
Today is World Water Day and CSUN is celebrating. Now we will go live to Lauren Llanos in our Sundial studio to learn more.
Hi, I'm with Dr. Orme, Professor of Geography here at CSUN. So Dr. Orme, what is World Water Day?
World Water Day is an event that's sponsored by the United Nations, and the focus of it is to help identify critical water resources, especially for underserved communities on a worldwide basis.
And what can we do as a university to help preserve water?
Water is very critical, especially in Southern California, because we have a shortage of water, in part because of how we use water, and in part because of the drought that we are experiencing today. On campus, we can better use our water resources by using our water fountains and using our own water bottles. We can start to replace areas of the campus that have vegetation that is not native but to drought-resistant species. And in fact, we could have a program of xeriscaping, which is a way of implementing both rocks and native plants. So they require basically no water.
And your talk today at the World Water Day convention here at CSUN was about California's past, present, and future. Now, what's different about water in California than it has been in the past?
Well, the way we use water is very different today than, say, a century ago. Yet, if we look at how water policy has been implemented in the state, that policy really is over 100 years old. And part of the policy is that we have been moving water from Northern California to Southern California. And that's a policy that has been with us since 1919. And we are still implementing programs today that essentially are large engineering projects that move water from the more luxurious Northwest and the water in the Sierra Nevada down here to Southern California as well as the Central Valley.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Orme. We really appreciate it. And back to you in the studio.
Students at CSUN are at the University Student Union to learn more about sustainability and water conservation.
Right now, I know people, they don't see it as a big thing, because when they go to their water supply, they have water. So, like, in their mind, they're just thinking, oh, we're okay. But it's not really about the fact, it hasn't hit here yet, because, we're a major city, LA, So if something were to happen here with water, that it'd be all over the place.
He talked a lot about issues regarding the, environmental issues and sustainability, and it just kind of made me realize that I need to get more involved, and it just takes a second. Sometimes the minimal that you can do is what makes a change.
There will be speakers throughout the day at the USU Grand Salon.
The United States is telling Moscow they are on a dark path to isolation after Russian annexation of Crimea. Russian President Vladimir Putin received applause after making an official announcement that Crimea would again become part of Russia. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden is in Poland, where he reassured NATO allies that Russia will pay for what he called a land grab.
It will, in fact, see additional sanctions by the United States and the EU.
Meanwhile, Russian troops have detained the Ukrainian Navy commander and reportedly blocked the defense minister and another Ukraine official from traveling to Crimea in what they said was a bid to defuse tensions.
Investigators are now trying to figure out exactly when the change in course was entered into Malaysia Flight 370's computer system. Sources are saying the change in the direction was made about 12 minutes before co-pilot Farik Abdul Hamid contacted air traffic controllers. That would indicate the cockpit knew of possible difficulties on the flight but did not alert officials. Relatives of passengers from the flight had to be escorted out today from a news conference in Kuala Lumpur. Families are upset because they feel Malaysian authorities haven't done enough to find their loved ones or released enough information. Malaysian and U.S. officials believe the aircraft was intentionally diverted, but an extensive background search of the 239 passengers and crew aboard has not yielded any possible motive or link to terrorism.
14 teens are appearing at a hearing today in Pomona Juvenile Court. The teens have been charged in connection with breaking into a multi-million-dollar mansion in La Habra Heights, where they allegedly threw a party while the owners were away. The incident took place in November, and the owners of the mansion say they sustained more than $1 million in losses and damages. LA County detectives arrested 16 teens and charged 14 of them with burglary. The burglary charges could lead to 6 years in prison sentences.
It's a beautiful last day of winter on campus today. The sun is out with a high of 81 degrees and a low later tonight of 53. Skies are clear and blue all day, and everyone is ready for the first day of spring tomorrow. The sun will set at 7:05 tonight, with the moon not as full as the last couple nights. You can expect the weather to stay within the low 70s throughout the weekend.
And now to Karina Garibaldi with the latest news from the Federal Reserve and more business stories.
Thank you, Robert. The Federal Reserve is holding its first policy meeting under its new chairwoman, Janet Yellen, today. Yellen became the first woman to chair the Federal Reserve when she took office last month. The central bank is expected to cut down its monthly bond purchases to $55 billion a month. Yellen is holding her first news conference after the revised statement is released. Pandora is getting more expensive. Starting in May, the monthly music subscription service is going to cost $5 for new members. The existing subscribers will keep paying $3.99. That's to listen to Pandora without ads. Only 3 million of the 250 million registered users currently pay extra for the commercial-free Pandora One. Investors are waiting to see what Janet Yellen is going to say this afternoon. The stock market is down today. At last check, Dow Jones fell more than 100 points and the Nasdaq fell 30 points. Now back to you, Katie.
Alzheimer's could be more likely to be diagnosed than breast cancer. Cherney has more on the story.
Thank you, Katie. Women are twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease as breast cancer. The Alzheimer's Association says women aged 60 and older have a 1 in 6 chance of getting Alzheimer's disease in their lifetime. The disease affects more than 5 million Americans, with 2/3 of them being women. But what the association calls healthy brain life habits may help delay or prevent the appearance of the disease. These habits include staying mentally, socially, and physically active, and maintaining a healthy, low-fat diet. College students are all too familiar with the idea, but pulling all-nighters can be detrimental to your brain. University of Pennsylvania says a study on mice shows a loss of brain cells and nerve damage from habitual sleep loss. Even days of recovery sleep cannot reverse the brain damage caused from long-term sleep deprivation. Adults should regularly have 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. California is facing an early high pollen season this year. A midwinter is releasing pollen from trees earlier this year than usual. Allergists say the pollen we see is not the problem, but rather the microscopic particles in the air. People can track local pollen counts at the National Allergy Bureau's website. Now back to Robert with the news.
Noah's Ark will be coming to life as the infamous flood is narrated through film. Karina has more on the story.
Thank you, Robert. Filmmakers of the new Russell Crowe movie, Noah, based on the biblical story of the Noah and the Ark, still have not had a meeting with Pope Francis. They attended the Pope's general audience in Rome today, but were not granted a private papal meeting. The Vatican spokesman, Father Federico Lombardi, said the request from Noah's producers for a new private audience was immediately turned down. The film has been banned in much of the Muslim world because of its depiction of the Prophet. It opens in this country on March 28th. A film about Chicano leader Cesar Chavez gets a White House screening next Wednesday. The film, Cesar Chavez, tells a story about a Mexican-American leader who fought to win better pay and conditions for our farmers. The director of the movie, Diego Luna, says he hopes this film will raise awareness on the situation today in the fields because the struggle continues. In 2010, President Obama proclaimed March 31st as Cesar Chavez Day. The film opens in theaters on March 28. Now back to news.
CSUN may have a new reason to celebrate. Cherney has more on the story.
Thank you, Katie. The CSUN women's basketball team has secured a historical first-time championship in the Big West Conference. The close 54-52 victory gives them a seat in the NCAA tournament. CSUN Matador coach Jason Flowers says this is what they have worked so hard for.
And then you go to the gym or you go to the park and everybody does the countdown and the 3, 2, 1 and taking the last shot and being in the madness, and now our team gets to experience that. Again, it's something that I'm happy for them about. I was able to experience it as a player, so I know the excitement. I know the gratification that comes with getting to this level.
This will be the second time in 15 years that the women's basketball team goes to the tournament. The first game will be against South Carolina in Seattle on Sunday. There is something to say about second chances, because in his second try, TJ Warren has become an NCAA superstar. Warren was the main reason North Carolina State gained victory over Xavier on the opening day of the NCAA's First Four. NC State's next game will be against St. Louis in the Midwest Regional. Now back to Robert and Katie.
Thank you for watching Matador News. I'm Katie Fauskee.
And I'm Robert Zamora. Have a great day.